Well, it looks like I'm back on the A-list. Mercedes has sent me one of their little turbo sedans, C300 to be exact. Well, the first one's off the production line. 35 miles to the gallon. We'll see if we can get that. And here's the starting price and all of the outrageously priced options they always send on every Benz. 49 grand. What a deal. Let's take a close look. Okay, we're at our test facility. Let's open the door, roll out our baby Benz. Can't wait. This is a very nice looking car, and I'm glad they sent a light color because it's very, very hot August in the desert. This light shade reflects the heat and keeps the vehicle cool inside compared to some of the black ones I had recently. And our rear view. Shipped it all the way from the headquarters in good old Georgia, just for us. The history of the baby Benz has always been a bit mixed, at least in the United States. The factory really didn't want to make the compact Mercedes cars with a lower price tag. They wanted you to buy the more expensive E and S class. The smaller 190 and C series allowed peasants to drive the fancy brand, and that didn't go over too good people at the country club as well. And when you took it in the Mercedes dealer, they always put you into the line. Basically, you were snubbed by the real E and S class Mercedes drivers. Fortunately, that situation has long gone. Smaller vehicles with better fuel economies rule the day, and the Mercedes factory has done a fantastic job of developing the C-Class, especially this latest version. I haven't spent too much time in these, but what I have seen has been very impressive, and I think it's going to be even more so as this video goes along. By the way, we also did a review on the Mercedes-Benz EQS 580 electric vehicle. We'll have a link for that video at the end of this video. Costs a lot more money. And we also did a video on the Mercedes-Benz S580 with that nice powerful V8 engine. That costs a lot of money too. Two links coming up at the end of this video. Just click and watch. Here you go, a turbocharged 4-cylinder putting out 255 horsepower. Torque rating is 295 at 2,000 RPM, hooked to a 9-speed automatic transmission. You can also get all-wheel drive for $2 grand more. This is a rear-wheel drive driven on 2 wheels, which is what I prefer. Unless you drive in the climate where it's wet, then you might want that 4-wheel drive traction. Underneath all this mess is a 48-volt hybrid system with a motor that gives you 20 extra horsepower or an extra 140 pounds-feet of torque during hard acceleration. And at low speed, it helps get rid of the turbo lag. Works pretty good thus far. There's supposed to be a special C63 version putting out something like 500, 600 horsepower with a V8 for like 80 grand, something like that. I don't have that much information on that vehicle, and there ain't any around to drive at the moment, so if your bank account is unlimited, you want something a bit more powerful, you might want to look into that. We get a nice large trunk with this vehicle, and one of the first things we do we get a car is check to see if there's a spare tire underneath the floor. So let's take a look. Nope. I don't even see tire repair kit. Sign of the times, folks. They say they do it to save weight, but they do it to save money. That's why I brought my tire repair kit in this nice big box. If you do out-of-town driving, interstate, you need a spare tire and a jack. Even if you have run-flat tires a good maybe 35, 40 miles before they die on you on a 3-day holiday weekend when everything's closed, won't do you much good. Get a spare tire and a jack. Good advice for you. And the other thing we do in our videos is take these out at night, check out the headlights. That'll be part 3 of this video, so don't go away. Let's take a look at the cabin. The second row seats will hold 2 mid-sized adults. The car makers always claim you can fit 3 in the second row, but not too many can, at least not in a car this size. And you open the door and the rocker panels, the Mercedes-Benz emblem to remind you of what you're driving. This does light up at night, as we'll see later on in the video. You'll be glad to know, even though you're getting an inexpensive Mercedes, relatively speaking, The cabin materials, workmanship, and design is about as good as what you get in the more expensive E and S classes. They really did an outstanding job. No chiseling here. Okay, top to bottom, the sun visors slide back and forth to block out sun from the side windows. A lot of cars don't have this feature, amazingly, but we got it here. A lot of room in this glove box. Lots of good storage in between the seats and your traditional cup holders. Mercedes here is using the big panel touchscreen. As a rule, I don't like these, but in all fairness, it's pretty easy to use. One of the better ones. Gives you a large navigation view. Your climate controls are right here, very simple to use. Always available. You have your drive mode selector, Eco, Comfort, Sport, or Independent. This does not adjust the suspension. The suspension is fixed. It does affect other things though, like transmission shifting, throttle response. And a superb camera system. Very, very high quality, gives an excellent view. Let's see what options we have here. Very nice, impressive. We're going back to the 1950s with the shifter on the column behind the steering wheel. You do get paddle shifters on the steering wheel though, where they belong, not on the steering column like the Italians do, which is a stupid place to put them. This is far better, always within reach of your fingers, regardless of the position of the wheel. With a column shifter, you can only shift it going in a straight line, not corners, which defeats the whole purpose of having paddle shifters in the first place. And here you have a total selection of how you want your gauge cluster to look. Right now I have it in the sport mode. Like so. The understated mode. Looks good, but not very useful. And this one here is the best overall. I'm getting a lot of glare into the camera, but it looks better in person. We'll be viewing these at night later on in the video. And if you want, you can pull up a navigation view on the gauge cluster. Why you'd want that, I don't know. You'd have one here and one over here, one for each eye, I suppose. In here you can turn the heads-up display on or off. I prefer to have it off. It's a nice gimmick when they first came out, but I really don't have any use for them myself. If you do, turn it on. And the controls for the power seats are here on the door. A very good place to put them. In the past, I've had a lot of gripes with Mercedes interiors for reasons I won't go into, but no complaints here. They did an excellent job. Like I said earlier, the design, quality, materials, workmanship, overall appearance is just as good as anything I've seen on the more expensive E and S classes. So Mercedes is getting serious about this car. It's a good thing. Alright, part 1 show and tell is over. Part 2, let's go out and do some driving. By the way, judging from the reflection, these headlights look pretty bright. I think we're going to have good results when we take it out in the dark tonight. In the past, one of the biggest complaints testers had with Mercedes vehicles was their dead power steering. Not an issue here. A lot better feel, good response. Definitely an improvement. Somebody's paying attention. Thumbs up for me. As we do in all of our videos, we're going to take some mild speed humps at 15 to 20 miles per hour, see how the suspension performs an impact. I do have the car in the comfort mode at the moment, but won't affect the suspension. Bump number 1. Some slight thumping, but nothing serious. Number 2. Very smooth. Number 3. Quiet again. Here's the big nasty bump. Hang on. Some mild hump noises, but still pretty smooth. This body structure is very, very solid, built like a tank, like the older Benzes they used to make. I'm very impressed. This engine's got a lot of guts. Let's do a 0 to 60 run. Oh yeah, once the turbo kicks in, you're gone. The brake feels a little spongy, but the car stops in a hurry. Just a note, this is a very quiet engine when you're moving, and reasonably quiet when you're accelerating, a nice mild hum. But when sitting at idle, it sounds more like a diesel for some reason. I don't know why, nothing to bitch about. Yep, when it's idling, it's a bit noisy, but you don't hear it on the inside. The car is pretty well insulated, so no big deal. Overall, a very impressive motor. According to our computer, 278 miles, averaging 27 miles per hour. Mostly city commuting, 25.5 mpg. Not bad considering it's been driven pretty briskly. So let's do a reset and take a highway trip. By the way, resetting this is easy if you know how. It's a pain in the ass if you don't know how. Like most German controls. But you'll figure it out. On the other compact Benzes, there's always something to complain about. Mainly because the factory was cutting the corners a bit, but not an issue on these newer C-Class Mercedes-Benzes. I don't detect any cost cutting at all. You can tell when you're on the long highway trip. Very smooth, quiet, well screwed together, very comfortable for long trips. And this extra thick glass all around is very, very quiet. I don't hear much wind noise at all. The more I drive this, the more I'm impressed. Well, here you go, 114 miles, 75 miles per hour, 34.3 mpg. That included some brisk driving, a lot of passing, so I'm very impressed. Time to take this on a nice mountain trip with lots of tight curves, which is what this Mercedes-Benz is intended to be used for. And as expected, the cornerability is fantastic. Definitely hugs the road. And this turbo engine has lots of torque for climbing these steep grades. And I'm glad we have strong brakes, because occasionally an animal will jump out in front of the vehicle. They do have bears around here. Maybe not today, it's a little bit too warm. There's a bit more body lean on this vehicle than I would care for, but you do get a pretty smooth ride, so there's nothing to complain about. The overall balance is very good. This is definitely one of the better models in the Mercedes inventory, and definitely worth a look. Let's take a highway drive again, on this time at night. Cooler temperature, less traffic. See if we can bump up those numbers. Okay, 58 miles at 72 miles per hour, 37.5 mpg. I'm impressed. So what's my take on this baby Benz after a week of driving? I'm very, very impressed. Mercedes did a great job on this model. Very little to complain about, aside from the fact I can't afford it. If you're looking for a Mercedes-Benz and want a price tag under 50 grand, this might be for you. Alright, it's dark enough. Let's take a look at these headlights and do some night driving. And when you approach the car and unlock the doors, come on, where's that Mercedes emblem? It never does it when I have the camera on. And when you get in, the rocker panels light up and say Mercedes-Benz, so you don't forget what you're driving. And here's what the taillights look like. Big enough and bright enough. And here's what the emergency lights look like. in the rear. Got it on the outside mirrors as well. Lights it pretty good on the front. But it's certainly better if you have the headlights off. Only do this when you're not moving, parked, of course. And here's what the info screen looks like in the dark. And what happens when you put it in reverse, you can change a lot of things here. Pretty nice system. I showed this in my daytime video, you may or may not have watched, but it looks a lot better when you look at this at night. Navigation on the main screen and navigation on the gauge cluster if you want it, one for each eyeball. And also, as I showed in the daytime video, you can change the gauge cluster. Here's the classic, or you have the understated, or my favorite, the sport. A whole string of choices to pick from. All controlled here on the steering wheel with your thumb. You can also turn on the heads-up display. There you go, just popped up in the windshield. It duplicates whatever you're seeing on the dash. There's a comfort setting on the menu. And with this, you can adjust all kinds of colors for the cabin. I won't demonstrate them all. You can see them here. At the moment, we seem to have some type of weird purple and blue. Well, it's red on my left. Let's try green. Ah, there you go. And I was so busy playing with the lights and toys, I forgot we're here to test the headlights, so we have the low beams on a wall 33 yards away, or 100 feet. Pretty bright. Height good enough, goes just over the bushes. I'll leave the heads-up display on for a while. And the bright's very strong in the middle. And if you watch my videos, you know there's one thing I cannot stand, it's auto-dimming mirrors. I don't have a disconnect switch. It's nice to have blacked out mirrors on the freeway, but when you're driving on city streets, it's not a good idea. It's hard to see motorcycles on your left and bicyclists on your right. I guess there's no disconnect switch, but you can always turn it off by putting a piece of tape over the sensor hole. Or if you want to put some transparent Scotch tape, it'll darken enough to get rid of the glare, but keep it light enough where you can see what you're doing. Appears that is your only options here. I see in the heads-up display you have a warning that shows you're about to hit something, which makes sense. I'm about 2 inches away from a fence pole. Didn't know we had that feature. Nice to know. I was going to take this vehicle out to the mountains and take some tight corners and test the headlights out there, as we often do in our videos, but a big storm came in, flash flood warning, so I've had to turn back. We won't be able to do that, sorry. I have to get this car back tomorrow, so I might not have time to do it again. I was going to take this Benz out to some backcountry roads and test the headlights out there, but got a storm coming in, flash flood warning, so I have to turn back. Won't be able to do that, sorry. I have no control over the weather.